Welcome to Learning Life Skills Together. This is our weekly community Zoom meeting where our guests help us to go deeper into the 4 life skills and open up a huge array of chances to practice them. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Zoom meeting number 39. And today we have with us Dr. Chris Moriconi, who's one of our clinical consultants on this whole project. Just a wonderful fount of information and insight with kids and families. She's been doing this for a long time. So she's been doing it with her own kids and with grandkids, as well as a professional, as a psychologist, and as a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So she's bringing us, I think, a lot of insight into this topic of how do we ease the way back to school, right? How do we make it easier for us? And so one way we can do that is to sort of settle ourselves right at the beginning of our talk. So I'm going to ask Chris to guide us through something that might help us to settle in and get ready to think about these things.
Hello. So as we're coming into this, I just want to say thank you so much, Don, for inviting me. And thank you to all the parents and caregivers that are listening to this podcast, who've taken the time out of their day to kind of look towards an ease in transition from summer to school. And this may be either easy or difficult, but in this moment, we're just taking a few minutes to sit with ourselves and kind of get yourself comfortable in whatever chair you might be in, or perhaps you're relaxing somewhere for a few minutes and easing yourself into the chair, feeling the back supported, or your legs are kind of feeling the firmness of the floor against your feet, and your arms might be supported on the chair or in your lap. And coming into this space just for you for the next 5 or 10 breaths. So as you're breathing in, it might be interesting to see if it's possible to remember some of the positive parts of your own childhood. Maybe times that you had fun, felt warm, felt relaxed, felt at ease. As you breathe in and out, this visualization might be difficult or easy. See if it's possible to kind of invite yourself to visualize what made it special for you. What made this experience in your childhood so special? Maybe it was the tone of voice that someone had. Perhaps it was a feeling of closeness. Maybe just inviting the playfulness of a pet, or the smell of the beach. Whatever that pleasant sensation might be coming to you right now. Letting your breath, your body, your mind just feel any sensations that are coming up for you right now in your body. Perhaps you're noticing a release of tension in your shoulders, your jaw, your head be a little more relaxed. Or maybe there's some tightness somewhere. Seeing if it's possible to breathe in and out of your body right here, right now, with no expectation about how you do this. It's just fine. And when you're ready, you're shifting your awareness to a time when you had to really master something in your life. Perhaps it was reading a book or building something or playing a musical instrument. All of these were things that you've done in your life with a lot of work and maybe some practice too. And after a while, with a lot of practice, you might even feel more confident in yourself. With each passing day, letting yourself feel more confident and competent to handle whatever it is that you wanted to master. And now on the next breath, coming into your body and feeling where there might be tightness or release in your body, and allowing the breath to breathe itself right in and out to any areas of holding that you might be experiencing right this second. And just shifting or moving if you need to, allowing your body to feel comfortable and at ease. On the next breath, breathing in and letting go of that memory or thoughts, and coming into that whole idea of planning and preparing that you have to do sometimes in order to learn something or cope with something. Seeing if it's possible to remember a time when, hey, wait a minute, that planning really paid off. Perhaps it was when you were studying for something or making a meal, preparing all the ingredients, or planning for a vacation. Whatever that was, it involved a plan. And you were the master of that plan. It was your planning that helped make the situation easier. Somehow, something that wasn't huge, but rather a little, a little bit of fun even. Just thinking about how you were going to tackle a problem. And breathing into and out from your whole body. Knowing that you've done it. You've made the time. You're going to handle this just fabulously. And one more breath in and releasing out. And if your eyes have been closed, you can gently open them and allowing your body to kind of release, maybe shaking your hands, moving your head around, just feeling the sensation of your body again. So what we just did there is something that maybe we want to talk about for a few minutes. I'll invite Don to come in and just and I want to pop in here.
Yeah, so I will stand in for the audience since we're recording this. Yeah. So I was really able to find something to connect to in all three of the things that you offered us. And so um I'm really sort of in a place where I'm calm and I actually kind of feel some accomplishment in my life, even thinking about when I was a little kid. So the things that I thought about, you talked at first about, okay, so coming back from school, I was thinking, and a pleasant memory from that. And so a pleasant memory from that is the pile of cushions that I liked to sit on was still on the floor where I'd left them, and my dog was there within easy reach and just sort of flopping down, onto the floor and cuddling up into the pillows and into my dog Cinder's and and just how getting that chance to just let go and settle things down after the day of school and riding the bus and all those other things that on the first day you sort of got to get used to again. So that was really really helpful, I think, to me, just to settle me in. And so the next one was building something, or making something.
Mastery
Yeah,
of something. Yeah, trying to,
mastering something. And
yeah,
so the deal there was math problems, which have always been the bane of my existence and sort of continue to be, but recognizing the fact that, one, it took a lot out of me to do that. And I wasn't really ready after having flopped in those cushions to just go do that, you know, you
right, right,
know. And so saying, okay, I do need to do this. They're going to ask me these questions. I'm going to have a test. I know it. So I need to start to work on this. And realizing that, yeah, I actually did get through it as a kid, despite the ways, sort of the wanting to stay back from it as much as I could, and then the planning one, um, you know, that's so satisfying. And again, I was doing this as a kid, and so what really got me going was thinking of all the times that I would pack my pack. Now, in order to do something like go camping in the backyard. And so the idea was to have all of the things that I would need and not to have to go back in the house. And how satisfying it was to get there and realize I had everything that I needed, and that I could do this on my own by myself and not have to, say, oh shoot, run back in and
right,
sort
right.
of, yeah,
I think you really
sort of
bring up an,
start over. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, you bring up an amazing point that you already have everything you need and nothing an essential ability of feeling that in
Mm,
our lives. And it helps us to begin to deal with all the problems of adulthood, like being a parent, and kind of having to help a child to cope through the various things that feel very difficult for children, but maybe we didn't remember the ease at which or the difficulty at which we had to deal with things. So you're talking about your math problems being really difficult, but you were able to cope with it, maybe because you did all that planning and you successfully mastered many other things. And going back to school is a time of transition where you're letting go of maybe some playfulness or a free nip in your schedule or whatever it is as a parent, as a
Oh,
child, and how do you kind of work with understanding that you may not be too happy about going back to school, or you may be very relieved. We don't know.
yeah,
But we have
yeah.
to listen to, yeah, listening to ourselves and accepting, like, what is it that's happening right now? Can I have both of those feelings? And my thought is, yeah, you were talking about that. Acceptance is, just basically accepting reality as it is. I don't want to get up early in the morning and I do have to get ready for school. So all of those things, like the math is there, I have to learn it, but I really am not sure if I really like this, but I did master it. So for the child that's returning to school and has gone many times, they might have those both of those feelings at the same time. Or maybe your child is like going to school for the first time and is very kind of worried about like what's going to really happen. But we have to kind of put on as parents and as a grandmother and a mom and a therapist. I mean, just listening is the hardest skill, but it's the most essential one for us to kind of work with, no matter what stage or age your child is at. Whether it's a child that can't really articulate too well what's going on, or a child that's a teenager and doesn't feel like articulating anything. Um,
Mm,
Listening is
yeah.
really a key skill. And what does that mean? Well, that means that the thing that we went through, that meditation that we just did, the ABC, that meditation of just kind of remembering the positives, mastering and coping by planning ahead, those things are part and parcel of calming ourselves, so that when we come to our child or children, that we present as calm and confident and capable of handling the situation. It's kind of like having like an anchor on a ship, right? There's going to be many waves that'll come up and down in the ocean, but the ship will be steady as it goes with a good anchor. And as a parent or caregiver, you're the anchor for the child. So how you feel has a big impact on how the child's going to be able to cope through, no matter what age the child is. So listening to yourself first is what we did in that first exercise, and seeing that that has a part and parcel of how we're going to communicate with our children. So taking care of yourself, like that old adage of putting the oxygen on your face first before you put it on your child if your airplane is going down, which I hope never happens to you. But this is the same concept. Okay, so we have to like accept what's going on with ourselves, and then how can we listen to what's going on with kids, our child or our children. And this also involves taking a step back, just being in the moment for yourself. Now, sometimes it's not easy to take that step back if we don't plan any time for that to happen, right? So in the morning, so say we're transitioning from a school and summer environment to the school environment, well, giving yourself an extra 10 minutes before you wake the kids up or something like that might not sound like a lot of time, but it might allow you a minute or two to just listen to yourself.
Yeah, I want to just jump in and say, the stop skill that we've been talking about now, you know, sort of we bring it up again and again. It's in a lot of these podcasts that we've done, just stopping, taking that step back, taking that breath, and noticing what's happening with you and what's happening around you before you go on, before you proceed, right? The P part of the stop. So it's, you're saying take 10 minutes. 10 minutes, would be really kind of perfect for doing that with yourself.
And it
to
doesn't have to
let off.
be like, yeah, sitting down and doing it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it doesn't have
it
to be
could be like,
formal at all.
yeah, you could be taking a shower and feeling the water again.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
could be smelling your coffee as you're taking a sip of coffee. You could be just sitting in your chair and allowing your shoulders to go down and release and relax. You could listen to music that might even sound like something that would calm you or make you feel energized for the day. So getting hold of where your emotions are is really, and your physical needs are really part of that. I want to just speak to that for a second.
Hmm.
Because oftentimes, we can do kind of a check in with our own bodies first physically. And that might be the easiest, like we're talking about getting a shower, the coffee, that kind of thing, but also sleeping. And sleeping, I'm just highlighting that. Of course, eating and all those other exercise, everything is very important to our own physical health. But there might be a change in sleeping habits that parents and caregivers have to also kind of accommodate when they're changing the sleeping patterns of their children to allow for that earlier schedule, that morning waking to happen. And that shift, it's kind of a better idea sometimes. Just I usually don't give like direct advice, but I think that it's a better idea to start like a week or even a few days if you're, kind of under the,
Mm.
little time stretch to just kind of shift the time from like say your child goes to bed at 9, then have a few nights at 8:30, and then 8 o'clock will be their regular time, and to coordinate that with your child. So it's not like, hey, wait, we're just doing this tomorrow. So get to bed at 7 o'clock tonight or 7:30. I mean,
Right.
like
Yeah.
make it more of a like a collaboration. Not that you don't want to set a rule, okay, but you want to set it with like a little conversation maybe. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this might be difficult, but we can like let's talk about would 8:30 or 8:45 for the first night. So like give, it's like you're setting sort of a limit a little bit, but you're allowing them to collaborate with you so that they feel they have some kind of control or some kind of say, a voice
Yeah.
that, like I'm letting go of an old pattern and I need a little space to kind of make that happen. And each parent and caregiver does it differently. So um, that collaboration, I think, also keeps the door open for any anxiety or worry thoughts that kids usually might have right before they go to bed at night. That's when we all kind of have an increase in worry thoughts usually. And even saying, okay, I'm going to chat with you for 5 minutes before I tuck you in or something like that, and we'll just chat and see how's it going at 8:30 for you. And sometimes that's the
Yeah.
perfect time to have like a little conversation, or even just to physically hug your child, reassure them, make sure that they're feeling safe and cared for, and all the things that you usually do. And that is sort of an emotion, folds us into like, the emotional needs of kids, and parents too. So, but
Yeah.
as we're making, yeah, this transition, it doesn't have to be a hurdle to get over. It can be also a place of communication, a new beginning, a fresh start. We can make it fun. We can take a different tack on what looks like, ooh, like, ugh. It can be like, wow, we can have this, um, if we get our stuff done, we have 10 minutes to do rainbow breaths or stretching or draw a picture together or something like that. So folding in like little tiny playful rewards in terms of your morning schedule might also kind of address that worry, but it also helps us to like feel that sense of accomplishment. Like I got dressed all by myself today. Mommy's going to sit down with me for 5 minutes and draw a picture so she'll have it with her all day. She can look at it, or I can take it with me and I can think of mommy whenever I need to. So
Yeah.
those kinds of places where you are soothing also your relationship,
Yeah.
and bringing those into your playful part of yourself, into your playful part of the morning. That's another possibility that you can.
Yeah. The together part of learning life skills together is so important. And that's really what you're pointing to there, is we're doing these things together, we're accomplishing them together, we're making this change together, we're both part of it, or we're all part of it. I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, though, when we're listening to our child or our children, sometimes they will teach us. So we don't have to have all
More
the
together,
answers.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
together part,
that's it.
usually it looks like, mom's telling me this and then, but a lot of times, like, um, one of my grandkids is learning how to tie her shoes, and she really wants to do them herself. And you have to just kind of allow her the time and space to be able to have that happen successfully. And
Mm,
she taught me a little lesson in patience that way because, of course, you're under time and you're trying to get out the door, and um, me doing it was going to be so much faster in my head.
exactly,
And
yeah.
she said, "Well, Grandma, I'm never going to learn how to do this." Do you believe she said, "I'm never going to learn how to do this unless I try and do it myself"?
Ooh.
So, I mean, like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
wisdom from the young, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So she taught me that I just had to understand that she was working on her mastery. She wanted to keep going on that. She wanted to keep practicing. And I just had to sort of take a deep breath and say, okay, well, we're going to get there and it'll work out. So I guess the lesson I learned from that too is that sometimes it's important when we're going through transitions, like from home to school or school to home, that we fold in like a few minutes extra on either of those transition times for moments like that, right?
Mm.
When somebody has to go to the bathroom or somebody has to tie their shoes or somebody lost their homework. So all of those things are probably going to happen, and how you handle it and how I handle it affects the child that we're working with. So if I had screamed at my grandchild and said, "Well, hurry up and I'm going to do it anyway, let's go," that would have made her feel like, grandma's not really listening to me. She doesn't really understand what I'm saying. And that might have damaged our relationship. And I have to kind of, like, when she stopped me with that statement, like, I need to practice this so I can get good at it, kind of thing. When she stopped me, it helped me. It helped me understand that, oh, well, this is important. I have to give her space. I have to take care of this right now. And that's what she's asking for. And I had to get out of my own way, right? But I had time
Yeah.
to be do that. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that
I think
little
that's
time.
really, really important, that you had to calm yourself about the time too.
Exactly.
That stepping back, stopping and taking a step back and a deep breath is really what's going on for the mom, for the carer, whoever that is that we need to be using those skills sort of all the time for that. Yeah.
And for kids that are, going to school for the very, very first time, and they might be getting on a bus, or, you're dropping them off and you're new to the whole routine yourself. I think it, like we were talking about in terms of practice, so the ABC thing again. So positive emotions, or calming ourselves, and building mastery and planning ahead is a coping skill that we can do when we're preparing our child to go to school for the first time. So
Mm.
driving up to the school, looking at where the school is, how far it is from the house, like, how long is it going to take me to drive Mary to school? I mean, don't make the mistake I made and just put the address in. And I, of course, put the wrong address in and went too far. But folding time in is really important, or doing these
Yeah.
things ahead of time to see and making that plan it's really pays off because it like helps us feel in control and competent, and it helps the child feel safe too. Like,
Yeah,
oh, grandma
yeah.
knows where she's going, or my mom knows where she's going. So um,
And for the child to know what's going to happen. Oh, there's the school. Okay, now I see it. Now I see where we're going. Now I see, yeah. And we can get there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And and reminding reminding kids that you're going to be there when they come out of school, or that you're always, like, you're always going to be there. That's that anchor that we talked about a
Mhm.
few minutes ago. And sometimes it seems as though when we're working with younger kids, or when I'm working with younger kids, my own grandkids, it seems like it reminding them that, grandma's going to be here when you get done. I'll pick you up at blah blah time. I'll be in line. I don't know exactly how that's going to shape out today, but know that I am definitely coming back and I will be there. So reminding them that that consistency will be there, but also sometimes it's useful and helpful. And I don't know what your thought is on this, Don, but sometimes it's useful and helpful to have like a transitional object, like something from. So for
Mm.
me, for me, what my granddaughter is, she might be a geologist or something someday. She collects pebbles. We go everywhere. She gets stones, shells, and she collects them all the time. So we have thousands of stones. Um, but we've collected some of them together. So I gave her one of these stones to put in a little pocket so she could like rub it
Mm.
occasionally. She was
Yeah.
thinking about me, or when she wanted
Yeah.
to think about me, when she wanted to think about those positive memories that we talked about as part of this. We talked about like remembering positive things, accumulating positive emotions. Well, just touching or rubbing that stone for a little while helped her to kind of know that I was there, and that we had been together when we got that little rock. And it was a reminder that I was still nearby. So
Yeah.
I'm sure every family has like little things that they can think of like that. Um, I mean, I've used like the hair little hair ties and things like that I've had, and
Mm.
give them away.
Yeah.
Um, like little things like that. And for the little ones, I think it's always a good thing. Sometimes it's useful and helpful to even understand that there might be a friend or two going to school at the very same place that they're going to, so that they know that there's other people there that they already know that are there. And if that's not the case, that's not the case. But sometimes you're in a neighborhood, and Sally three doors up is going, and you're gonna walk to school with them, a bunch of other people, or you'll meet Sally before school starts and just see how things are going, just so you know
Yeah.
who she is. Those kinds of little things make big spaces for a feeling of ease when you go to school. So
Yeah.
you're not doing it by yourself. So that's the main point here, that you're not doing things by yourself, and that you're coping ahead. Um, and and giving lots of hugs at the same time, so that
Yeah.
I think that those hugs come kind of spontaneously throughout the conversations that you might have, child, your grandchild, or your whoever, your niece, your nephew, your friend, um, and having those hugs happen, make it make it make it home. A hug,
Yeah.
a hug is a home, and
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that those parts of your relationship, as you were talking about relationship building and things like that, these are all important parts. But like everybody I learned from, really, I learned from the children, I learned from the parents. They're all experts at everything. It's just that,
Yeah.
we're slowing the ship down a little bit to point out the things that parents already probably do, but we're highlighting them so that when it gets to be a stressful thing, that they have a practice in place that they can lean on. They know the ABCs, they know the stop skills, they can automatically go into that kind of thing, so they're not reacting but reflecting on what needs to happen here. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. Um, so the idea is, all along through learning life skills together, that the adults do have the skills. They're just sometimes buried. They're buried under overuse sometimes, or underuse as well. And sometimes we have to go back and capture things. But you said slowing the ship down. And so much, I think, is about that part, right? To be able to put a tiny pause in somewhere, because things just happen and happen and happen and happen. Just even across a day for a child, right? Okay, we got to get up. We got to get ourselves together. We got to get you off to school. Then you're going to go to your after school program, and then you're going to come home. And so there's so many transitions for the kids to have. And if each of them has, some kind of built in, I don't know what to call it except cushioning. I mean, I'll go back to I got home and I fell into a pile of cushions, and that felt really good. And so this idea of, how can there be cushions built in to make those transitions, easier on the child and easier on us. I mean, the going to the after school program, the after school programs usually have that wisdom that the kids need to do that for a while. So, that they need a little time to make an adjustment and to crash for a little bit, and then, you know, off into whatever structure. But then the coming home part, and I think that's like the really important place to think about that pause. And I sort of would ask you to reflect on that. What's
Yeah.
that moment of finally, okay, finally we're in our own place. Okay, here we are.
Right. Even the pickup or the drop off, that can be fraught with anxiety in terms of like getting from work to pick up a child, or, being on time for the bus. So for the parent,
Yeah.
it's kind of a really high stress time to make sure that things are
Yeah.
okay. It's hard to be at ease a lot of times with that, but just to take a moment and just breathe in and out of it, to say, how can I be kind to myself in this moment? Oh, maybe I just need to sit back in my driver's seat or relax my hands around the steering wheel just a little bit. So it can be as minuscule as that, and just allowing for that to happen, because making space that you were talking about, that relaxing space, that's so hard to do. Like you're picking
It
up a child,
is.
you have to get in the car, get things done, get dinner on the table, and the homework done. It's a hard demand on any family. And making those cushions, as you call them, I think is a fabulous, fabulous word, because I just want to sit on a cushion. So that sounds like a
Right.
good idea to me. But when the child comes in a car, a lot of times what we want to do is like, how did your day go? What happened? Like you're trying to communicate, but you're sort of like thinking in the future. You've got to make dinner, you've got to do a bunch of other things. But what would it take for us as parents and grandparents to just listen to whatever happens? I mean, like, what was your day like? Might be a little bit more of an open-ended kind of way of ask, like say, what happened to you, or what what was your lunchtime like? Um, it's
Yeah.
all curious questions, and I would just say that making curious questions, not like, maybe might kind of afford the child either the space that they need not to say anything for right away, because some kids,
Yeah. Now
so,
I'm one of those
yeah,
children. Still,
yeah,
and still am. When something is over, I need to just be with myself a little bit, let it all settle out, and then I can talk about it. But really, if you try to get me like immediately, I can't really tell you. And so it feels like, I think, a failure on both sides. I feel like, oh, I'm not answering you. I'm not giving you what you want.
right,
And you, as grandma, are like, What
What's going
happened?
on? What did I do wrong? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times it's just even staying with the silence and being okay with it. Maybe turning on like some relaxing music that the child
Hmm.
likes, to kind of have them settle in and know that they need that settle in time, um, to get out of the car and not like rush to the next activity immediately. Maybe that means taking the dog for a walk or just allowing a minute to get something cool to drink, um, and just
Yeah.
being with each other for that, before you go to the next thing, um, is enough of a space, and it can kind of, and there's so many lessons to learn from the from I'm talking about my grandkids and my own kids. I mean, um, just the silence sometimes is so comfortable. It's so like you're home, you don't have to talk. You're home,
Yeah.
you don't have to perform.
Yeah. This is the place where you can just be yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And as the parent or grandparent or caregiver, you have that, and that's so different from the school environment, right? Which, they want everybody to
Yeah.
hang on to every word and perform and do all that kind of thing. So,
Exactly. You got to be on at school, and so the chance to switch off, yeah, is really,
yeah.
really nice, and something that's generous. The parents are being generous when they give that time. I just want to sort of, we've been talking a lot about the little kids and the transitions, but this is also true when the kid's 16. When they get home, they may not be ready to be grilled about how did you do on that algebra test.
Right,
You know,
right.
that might not be where they want to go right then, you know? So,
Yeah, and I think that there is, like, oftentimes, and I was kidding but serious about the teenager not wanting to communicate. I think there's a kind of a place where a caregiver, parent, or might feel, oh, well, they're not communicating. I don't know what to do. Sometimes when you don't know what to do, it's okay.
yeah, yeah. I don't think you could make that point big enough. I think that's really important is that sometimes it's okay. Sometimes time is just what's needed.
Yeah, and
Space, time, space, cushions. Yeah,
yeah, but I think also sometimes it's the connection that you get through an activity together that might not be anything like verbal communication. Um, so sometimes, like, taking care of a pet, or um, kind of working through something together, whatever that might be, would physically have a demand, and working together on something. Say, for example, you're making dinner, and I have like, I've had my grandkids come over and they've helped me chop whatever I'm making or do whatever I'm doing, and I don't even ask them about school. I'm like, would you like to,
yeah.
like, we can do something together, like something totally different, or um, you know um, go for a hike or go do something, or not even just hang out for like 20 minutes watching some mindless show,
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
something like not even connected. So sometimes that enables the next thing to happen with greater ease.
But being together in it, I just since that's part of the name of the program here,
Oh,
I
okay,
just
right, right,
I just keep coming back to together.
yeah,
Together is the thing that gives us a chance to bring whatever, calm we can gather in that anxious moment where we're moving from all of the stuff of school and after school programs and everything else to a place where we can all, sort of settle. We help the kids to settle, and sometimes they help us, as you were saying, but it's a shared thing.
Yeah, and I think that we oftentimes, Don, I listen to my own head talking. I don't know if you do, but sometimes I'm saying
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, excuse me, I'm really not connecting with my granddaughter. I don't know what to say. And sometimes I don't know what to say, but that's my self-talk. Like I'm talking to myself and I'm like, oh, well, I have to kind of connect to the positive part on that. So just positive self-talk is another part of how I'm coping in that moment. Like, oh, I'm giving her space. It's okay. I need this space myself. I also need to like maybe just not judge myself so much about this situation and just see what it is, see how it goes, and allowing myself to do that stop skill by preempting it with like, you can do this, you can do this. Sometimes when you don't know what's ahead, it's good enough just to say that you've
Yeah.
done it in the past, you're good enough, and you can do this. um, and giving yourself a lot of kudos is the same skill you want to kind of transmit to a teen. One of my granddaughters is on a track team, and she doesn't like me to come to any of her track meets because she doesn't want anybody to see her, um, whether
Mm,
she's successful or she's not successful. So we're working on that positive self-talk skill actively. Like, okay, I don't have to come, but what you need to kind of look at is you've been successful like all of the times. You've done great. You just need to kind of sit back and remember that. And that's kind of that acknowledging the positive parts of yourself and then doing that positive self-talk as a teen might be a little bit more helpful. And then kind of going into that negative, kind of critical, part of what happens in teenage land is that they're self concept is getting molded a little bit by their peers and how they look and how they fit in and or don't fit in. A lot of judgment going on. So,
yeah.
increasing that positive part of remembering the positive parts of yourself. I have to do it as a grandparent or caregiver, and my grandkid, they have to do that too. So, it's it's a really important thing to shift away the negative cycle there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so one of the things that I was thinking about that is that, you know, eventually we say something. Eventually we do something. This whole it's okay not to know what happens next, what to do next. And if we give it that time, I think the love comes out and we know what to do. You know, I think it's not about the things, it's not about the activities, what action needs to be happen next, what needs to happen next. It's like, what can be the feeling between us if we're both a little more settled finally,
Yeah,
you
and I
know?
think that you're pointing out being gentle, being
Yeah,
gentle
yeah,
with yourself and respectful of yourself. Just being able
yeah,
to like be curious or be interested, be curious about things, but not too overwhelming.
yeah,
And kind of, pointing out the positives. Those are kind of parts and parcel of communicating when you don't know like where to go. Just gentle, curious approach, like
yeah,
looking with ease at whatever's coming between you at that moment. Those are the gentleness, I think, and the curiosity, I think, will help to, I don't know, um, punctuate or kind of pull you together more in a
yeah,
positive direction.
yeah.
Um, and
The word that comes to me is trust. Is
yeah,
that you can trust yourself, you can trust your child in when you're settled. when you're centered, whatever you want to call it, that things happen. We have a saying in my house, which is you don't know, you don't know, you don't know, and then you know. It just takes some time and some settling in and some trusting of yourself and the situation. And you do know how to get through things. You do know how to work it out. And you've done it many, many times if you're a parent. Even if
Right.
it's your first child, you've still done it many, many times and you've gotten through it. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think also the thing is that for myself and for many of you that are listening to this, um, just that listening kind of openness, that curiosity is really the place that kind of transforms relationships. When that deep trust, as Don was pointing out, when that deep trust and gentleness comes through, you can even make a big mistake and have it be
And you
resolved.
will. Yeah.
And we have. Okay. Okay. I'm down on that
In there. Put my hand up.
page. True.
Yeah.
So it's not a linear thing. It's sort of like it's sort of like some days will be great, other days won't be so hot, but it is a process, and that's how any relationship works. And relationships are the thing that allow learning to happen, right? So if you
Mm.
have a deep relationship with a parent, or you have a listening relationship, or something like that, the relationship with your teacher, sometimes, not always, but sometimes in the learning environment, that will happen. And when that happens, it eases the learning process because the child or the teenager feels accepted. Even if they make a mistake, it'll be okay. And so in the learning environment, this learning environment comes, the child will have a little bit more resilience in an environment where maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe the teacher isn't listening, but my parent does. So we can always solve problems. So sometimes there's bumps in the road, especially as kids get older, they have different viewpoints and things like that going on. And as long as they know that we're listening, I think or that someone is listening, someone they trust and they love is listening. I think that's where ease of learning comes in all across the board. Whether your child has learning differences, has ADHD, whatever that is, you have to be an advocate a lot of times as a caregiver. Please be aware that you're amazing as a parent and a caregiver, and that if you're that anchor for your child or your grandchild or whoever, it's that's the key. If a child has that in life, they have the ability to kind of go to that place of competence and mastery at whatever level their potential will lead them. Um, so I think that I just wanted to sort of like highlight what you were saying, Don, about trust. I think it's key. Yeah.
Yeah.
To relationships. Yeah. So,
Well, I think that's the perfect point to end on. And you know, we all can do this. We all can not know and then know. And and we all can trust, that we've done it and we will do it. And our intentions are ones of love. So, you know, thank you for your wisdom, Chris. I would not have gotten to I would not have gotten this far in life without some of your wisdom. So I really, 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 really appreciate, how you're willing to give us the nitty-gritty of this. How does it look? How does it feel? How does it work? So thanks.
okay.
And we'll definitely bring you back in when we have our next big transition time. Thanks so much.
Always a pleasure, Don. And thank you, everybody, for listening. I appreciate it. Take good care and stay well.